Well, what's going on, Facebook fam? It is on and popping once
Yes, sir.
again. We are in the building on this 420. Yours truly, along with Edward J. Brown, for some more of this Wellness Wednesday. So tell a friend to tell a friend. It's about to go down.
Let's make it happen, baby.
That's it, bro, friend.
What's going on with you, man?
Oh man, it is a another day, and I am blessed to be a part of it.
Sir.
And waiting to get into this great conversation on this Wellness Wednesday, which is 420.
420.
420.
And isn't that happy hay day?
We gonna stimulate your mind today, Brother Brown.
It's happy hay day, man. Hey man, it's amazing because today is the day that we get to talk that this topic that everybody's been kind of pushing and wanting to know. How can we improve this aspect of our life? And that's the aspect of love.
All right.
How can we improve love, our concept, our ideology, and what's more important to me, our definition of love?
Okay.
So we're gonna jump into that, but before we do, Brother Dupree, I don't know if a lot of people who listen to this podcast are privy to be your friend on social media, but some days I call them bangers. That's those things that when you read it, it hits you like just bang. That one you post today, brother, where that dude say, well, tell me about the circus now and the clown.
All right. So today on social media, and eventually my microphone must have been smoking when I didn't know, because I got one of the crazy echoes in my mic. But I'm gonna make it through this show with it. So eventually my mic got stimulated while I was setting up the show. But I did post on social media, and I'm gonna laugh because I'm getting ready to read this for some folks. And good things I know how to operate in these type of conditions, because you got to be a professional. But it says the following. It said, "Don't blame a clown for acting like a clown.
Hmm.
You need to ask yourself the following question: Why do you keep going to the circus?"
To the same circus at that. Man,
Yes,
when I
sir.
read that, I was like, boy, if this man here don't know how to put those bangers out there. Now, that's one of those ones where my grandfather used to say, if you don't know what to say, just wave your hand up. So anyway, I think that's a good way to start, man. And let's take a moment, man, to talk about love and how love impacts us, how it makes us who we are, how it changes who we are, and the reason love is something that I think we have to talk about in regards to Wellness Wednesdays and how important it is to our well-being is that the definitions that we have of love is so wide and broad and vary from person to person. I wish that this 1 hour long podcast could give us a universal definition of love, but it's not enough time.
Mm.
So one of the things that I always like to hear, and I can't take credit for it because so many people say it, from Denzel Washington to Karen Hunter to other people that we consider great minds in our society. Love is an action word. We say it because we think it promotes an ideology, a thought process. But here's the thing. Have you ever had someone never tell you they love you, but their actions let you know that person think the world of you? To have that person never say, I love you. But they would go into, as my grandfather, he seemed to be on my mind today. would say, I'll go into the lion's den with T-bone drawers on for you. That is a person that their definition is, I can show you better than I can tell you how I feel about you and how much you mean to me. So now, just that idea prompts the conversation. So is it possible for a person to love you and never show you? You know what I mean? If love is an action word, we have to discuss, is it possible for a person to love you and never show you?
Wow.
Now, we can go into talking about people who are batterers. We can go into talking about people who don't communicate well. There's that scene in the movie where the Denzel Washington was talking to his son, and he said, what do me liking you have to do with anything?
Right. In fences. In fences.
You fences. You live it. Now, it was originally done by James Earl Jones. You live in my house. You eat my food. You sleep in my bed. I don't have to like you. I have to do right by you.
Right.
Now, all of what he said, when you dissect the entire scene, basically what he was saying is, I show you through my actions that I love you, that you are important to me, and I'm going to do right by you. Now, here's a question that came to me the other day. So now we got on the table one question that we're going to, eventually explore tonight. Can someone love you and not show you? The other one is, can someone love you and not communicate it to you at all? Not actions, not verbally. And when that occurs, who's to blame if you stay within that relationship? Now, you notice we're not talking about a relationship, romance. It could be a work relationship. It could be a friendship. But we have to start to ask ourselves, because I tell people all the time, everyone has a threshold.
That's correct.
Everyone has a threshold where you say, you know what? Enough is enough. My grandfather was a man of very few words. But when I tell you, it was like the love, it poured from his pores. You could feel it when you walked into his presence. Then I had other individuals in my family. You knew they loved you, but, it was always like, hey, I'm busy, I'm moving, I got to go. Here you go, do this, I'm going to do that for, and then I'm out. They didn't verbalize it. They showed it, but they didn't verbalize it. But now we have the second question. Can you get non-verbal and non-action and a person love you? And the third thing, which is the reason we put it at the end, because this is the one we can do a whole show on. How do you and what do you do when it comes to where you realize love may not be here, but I'm holding on? I'm holding on and I'm not being fulfilled at all. Now, do you realize we've been talking 10 minutes already and the word sex never came up? We talking about love. Love and sex are two different things. Intimacy and sex are two different things. So when we start talking about action words, how does someone show you that they love you? How does someone show you? But Brother Dupree, this podcast here, boy, they get a lot of free stuff.
Well, speak on it, my brother.
Yeah, here we go. Relationships are not very complicated. Relationships are based on one thing and one thing alone: expectations. The good relationships are the ones where expectations are being met, and the relationships that find themselves struggling are the ones where expectations are falling short. If you know what I desire and I require, can you provide that? Can you meet those expectations? If you can't, I got to ask myself, are my expectations real and you falling short because you just don't want it? Or are my expectations a little bit over the top? And to lighten the mood a little bit, let me tell you what happened to me. I went to get my booster the other day. And while I'm sitting in the chair, I tell the nurse, I said, I came here to get that booster, that Dwayne Rock Johnson booster. And she said, what's that? I said, well, the shot that you give me, and then in about 12 hours, I'm a little bit taller and I'm built more like The Rock. And she looked like, oh, no, we don't have that. So we don't have an injection like that. I'm like, what? I said, well, that's what I'm looking for. And she said, well, you ain't going to be happy. Yeah, she said, I got it for you. Here you go. Let me stick it in your arm. And so when she gave me my shot, I asked her, how long will it take for this to work? She said, oh, just a little while. It ain't going to take that long. You're going to look like The Rock tomorrow. Now, I knew she was joking, but what about those folks that tell people what they want to hear and know they have no intention on meeting their expectations? Are you wrong? Are they wrong for expecting that of you? If you search within yourself and you find out my expectations are not out of reach, all I want is respect, I want to be considered, and I want some honesty. Okay. That's not too much. But like you spoke about last week, well, for me to love you, I need a Bentley and I need a 6,000 square foot house, and I need at least 7 figures in the bank.
Yeah, that love has to have a little conditionary.
There's the expectations and the condition. It's not. Now, we haven't talked about unconditional love yet.
Right.
So are we being realistic in our understanding and our explanation and our actual definition of love?
That's a good question.
Because is the love cultural? Do we love differently as African Americans from Hispanic people, from Asian people, from white people? Do we love different?
Speak on it.
Do we think about love differently?
Speak on it.
Okay, I gotta get on my soapbox for a few minutes.
Get on there, brother.
Wait, I'm gonna just tell you how upset I was as a young buck. Now, this may be a lot of people that watch this podcast might not know this movie, but there was a movie called Colors.
Colors.
It was a gang movie. Remember the movie? Ice-T made the soundtrack.
Yeah, had Damon Wayans in it. Yeah, the Wayman brothers.
It had Sean Penn.
Yep.
Robert Duvall.
Right.
Okay. There's a scene in the movie where the black gang member was having sex with his girlfriend. And man, they was hanging from the ceiling all over. It would sound like animals. But then there was a scene later in the movie where Sean Penn, who was the police officer, was having sex with his girlfriend. Oh, it was romantic music playing. They were very tender and loving. And as a 19, 20-year-old, I was like, wait a minute. I said, why they made it look real animalistic with us as blacks? But when it was him, it was so romantic and very loving. Do we as African American love different from any other ethnic group? We do not. What we do is our love involves in my opinion, now keep in mind, This is my opinion as a 35-year clinician. Our love involves such intricate dance. It is a dance between black men and black women, where a black man becomes more vulnerable. An African American, a black woman says, you're safe. You're good. It's the way it should be. You don't have to be afraid to be vulnerable around me. I'm not going to take advantage. So that dance begins where he shows a little more vulnerability. She shows a little bit more support. For us, that sister feels like this man is going to care for me. He is going to protect me. He is going to provide for me. He is going to proclaim his love for me at all costs. And therein lies the dance. She's like, this is my man. He's like, I am proud to say this is my woman. I'm going to provide for her. I'm not a trick if I provide for my woman. Wait a minute. What are you talking about?
Come on, speak on that.
You know what I mean? What are you talking about? If my grandfather told me something, and we're going to title this show My Grandfather, because a lot of his stuff is coming up tonight. My grandfather told me a man's woman is a direct reflection of him. If your woman walking around here looking raggedy, you know what that means? Hey, you are to provide. If you like her nails done and you like how her nails are pretty when she comes from the nail shop, then pay for it. If you like when she got her sandals and her toes are pretty, pay for it.
Right.
But we see these young brothers, I ain't her daddy. I ain't no trick. Okay. But yet you want this woman to be laying up with you. We have to start getting back to that dance between black men and black women, where we complement one another on so many different levels. Do you love your woman because she meets all of your expectations and you meet all of her expectations? You decide you're going to build something together and you are going to do it as a unit? Or do you love her because she do what you say, you the man, and I'm supposed to do what I say, you supposed to do what I say because I'm the man? Like, wow. Everybody is throwing Cam Newton under the bus because this brother made a comment the other day that women are too willing to be boss bitches than learning how to cook and take care of their man and follow. Now, I am paraphrasing, but that's basically what he said. And it blew up the internet.
Yeah, it did that.
Why is he calling black women bitches? Why is he saying a woman doesn't need to learn how to cook and how to do what her man tell her to do? Now, we're talking about different generations. Brother Dupree, women have a problem today with these gender-specific roles.
You're correct.
They do. It's not like 2 or 3 generations ago where gender-specific roles was, that's just with expectations. You expected the man to go out and provide and the woman to take care of the house, and so people always say, well, what changed? What changed was the days of single income households is a thing of the past.
Correct.
These days, mama go and work just as many hours as daddy, if not more sometimes. So both parents being out of the house changed some of that gender-specific stuff. Because you want to see a woman get mad, let them both work out of the home. He come home and he's sitting at the table waiting. And he's like, oh, so when you going to cook? What? You've been here 2 hours before me. Could you have started something? That dance we talking about. that dance where we go back and forth.
Correct.
But even if we have that difference of expectations regarding love and our roles within the family, the one thing that cannot be absent is the ability to communicate. It cannot be absent. You have to be able to say, excuse, we need to talk. Let's plan. If I get home and I'm working late, can you pick up something? Can you start dinner? By the time I get in, we'll do it together. That's that dance I spoke about a few minutes ago. But now, if you don't appreciate me, therefore you don't love me. That's not true. Now, we started talking about the expectations. Do you know where our expectations and our definition of love come from?
Speak to me. Where's it come from?
How we were reared. What did you see? I got to tell a story of a young lady that I met a while back. And I used to work out at the field by LSU, and she used to run track for LSU. And one day, she was telling me how she liked this guy, but he obviously don't like her because he don't hit her. I said,
wow.
You know, I was at the time maybe 20, 21. I said, what you say? You know, because my mama told me if a man don't hit you, he don't love you. And I was like, wow. I said, you know what's funny? She was from Michigan, actually. No, she said, no, I said, well, my grandparents told me something different. If you hit, then you don't love them. Love don't hurt. Not like that. But that was where her definition and her idea and her concept of love came from, just like the gender-specific stuff. These days, men cook just as well as women. Women work just as hard as men. So since we're talking about love and expectation and things, let me keep sharing what I've learned over these many years of being a clinician. I remember the first gay couple I ever worked with. Yes, I was young and still learning. I didn't know. And I literally was as foolish enough to ask when they were sitting down with me, so who's the man and who's the woman? And they looked at each other. I was 24, just graduated. And they looked at each other, and one of the guys said, you see any women in this room? And he taught me. He said, no, what you're asking is what gender-specific roles is assigned to each individual. And he said, in our household, whoever's better at it, you're responsible for that. He said, I'm a better cook than he is. I do the cooking. He's a better housekeeper than I am. He cleans the house. And then I realized in these non-traditional relationships where you have both parents work outside of the home, that's the way it appears to be the trend. Whoever's better at a particular activity is responsible for that. And it has no bearing on whether you love me or don't love me. We are in this emotional dance where you're going to support me, I'm going to support you, and together in this family, we're going to move forward and show love. That's where the expectations come in. If I can't buy you a $50,000 engagement ring, do I not love you?
Wow.
It depends. It depends on the individual. Do I not love you? If I take you to Baton Rouge on a vacation instead of to Bora Bora, do I not love you? If I don't say it, do I love you? If I don't say I love you every morning. Or those men where the woman say, baby, I love you. What? No, I said I love you. I heard you. Does that man not love that woman, Brother Dupree?
That's a question.
So when we start to look at the foundation of love, it is based on how we were reared. I tell guys, the first man that any woman will fall in love with is their father.
That's a very good point.
The first man any woman will fall in love with is their dad. That is the importance of having a father there. The way a man should treat a woman will come from their dad.
Wow.
Okay? When that girl watches the way you treat her mother or the way you treat her, that is how they're going to expect to be treated by the man they love. Okay? Ladies, if you want to know how that man will treat you, look at how he treats his mother.
That's a very good point.
If a man can treat his mother bad, what do you think he'll do to you?
Woo!
I'm just keeping it real tonight, Brother Dupree.
Keep it real, my brother. Keep it real.
Keep it real. If that brother can treat his mother bad, what do you think he'll do to you? I tell fellas all the time, why do you think women at some point in the relationship, they say, when you gonna take me to meet your mama? They don't give a doggone about your mama. They want to see what kind of relationship you have with your mama.
Right.
A woman can pick up, if you can treat your mother bad, I don't stand a chance.
That's real talk.
I'm just keeping it real. So when we start talking about where do we get our ideas of love, you got to look at the house in which you were raised in. Some people were raised in single households. If you're living with your mom, you may never see a man come through that. Some women have a bunch of men in and out the house. The first person that you fall in, there's that old, I don't even know what to call it, where it said all guys want to marry a girl like good old mom, all girls want to marry a guy like good old dad. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I don't know about that, but okay. That's kind of what they're trying to say. You watch how your father treats you and your mother, and that's what you expect from the man that you love.
Wow.
Yeah. So now we've talked and we've laid out so many definitions of what love is, where it originates from, what it entails. What are the variables? What are the behaviors? What are the ideas that present itself when there's a lack of love?
That's the question.
All right. How do you know what is the example of there is no love here? Everybody, that definition is as broad as the word love itself. Because let me show you what I'm talking about. Let's go back. Okay. You want to see a group. I can always stir up conversation in my class. I just know how to do it. Think about this, Brother Dupree. Back in the 70s and the 80s, really like the 70s and the early 80s, if that man went out and he had a child outside of that marriage, that woman was going to make sure that child knew all of her brothers and sisters. That ain't that baby's fault. You was out there being a dog. So that baby is going to be welcome in this house, and that baby is going to be taken care of too. That baby will know all of the siblings that's in the house with the mama and the family. Tell a woman today, your husband just went out and had a child outside of the marriage. He better watch what he eat. That baby ain't coming in here. Now, of course, we're not saying all and everybody. We are talking about the generational behaviors and the differences in generational behaviors.
True.
I don't want that little joker in here, because what it does is it reminds me of you and you creeping outside.
Your infidelity.
Your infidelity. It reminds me every time I look at him how much of a dog you really are. And I don't want to be reminded. So that baby can't come here. And I'm filing for divorce.
Oh, Lord.
Because divorce is I remember research in the 90s, divorce was at 60%. Do you know in the 2000s, divorce is over 70% now?
Wow.
But people get married for different reasons. Marriage is more like a business arrangement than it is an emotional, spiritual commitment. So now, if you violate the contract, the contract is null and void. Okay? So we start to look at how people view love as different. As long as we lay out these rules, here's the 10 things you got to do, here's the 10 things I got to do. As a couple, we're going to meet in the middle.
Wow.
Okay. The minute you violate, now the contract is void, I'm moving on. We talked about it in class the other day. Youthfulness. Brother Dupree, a lot of my students look at me and they laugh. They think I'm funny because I say, you understand, you in your early 20s, some of y'all in y'all teens, do you know Mother Nature is coming for all of that, right? That's just loan. You don't get to keep
You won't be 20 forever.
You won't get to keep that, you know.
You won't be 20 forever, my friend.
Oh, so if you love a person solely because of the way they look, when they no longer look that way, then you no longer feel that way.
That's true.
Okay? And it makes you wonder how people who are blind love one another. Because the initial attraction for us is appearance. Normally, the initial attraction falls on appearance. But at some point, when you get wiser and you get smarter, you realize there are things more important than appearance.
You're correct.
So when I tell younger people about love is write down the top 10 things you must have in the person you're going to love. Now you're 22, Brother Dupree. Okay? Take it and stick it in your Bible or put it in a dictionary, put it somewhere. And it's a working document. Every now and then revisit it. One thing I will bet my career on, those 10 things that's on your list when you're 23, when you're 33, you're going to be scratching them out, writing other things in there. Because when you're 22, you put, well, he got to be handsome. She got to be fine. Oh, yeah, I want him to have a good job, and I want him to be, he got to have pretty teeth and nice shoes. And Now, when you're 33, you start saying, I just want him to have decent credit. Don't lie. Hope he don't lie. Hope she don't cheat. Now, when you 43, it completely changes. You look at that list you had when you was 23, and at the top of your list be things like, I wanted to have a relationship with God.
True.
You know what I mean? Just be honest, hardworking, not mean and bitter and abusive. Things change. And then you start looking back and say, why? What kind of shoes he have on don't matter. Why if he fine don't matter when you're 43? Because we get older and we get wiser and we begin to know what's truly necessary in regards to a soulmate, a life partner, or somebody we're going to spend that good quality time with.
Real talk.
Your list is going to change. Ladies, those boys need to hear, it ain't macho if you don't cry. That's not macho. It's okay for you to express your feelings. And brothers, tell your son, it's okay. It's okay to be emotional. You're not soft. You're not weak. It's okay to compliment a woman, to tell her she looks pretty. Lady, not every man that compliments you is hitting on you.
Real talk.
I think these podcasts, these conversations about love, these conversations about the actions of love need to be spoken in front of our younger people, because they think really warped about the concept of love.
Real talk.
All right. Show you what I'm talking about. Years ago, I used to watch every year People magazine. No, it was USA Today. USA Today used to put out a poll of the top 10 things that was most important to people when they get married. Okay? Back in the late 80s, early 90s, love was in the top 3. I think the last time I checked might have been around 2017, 2018. Do you know where love was in the top 10 things that must be present for a person to get married?
Where?
It was number 7. So I said to myself, pretty soon, love is going to be out of the top 10.
Wow.
We no longer need to be in love. Joe, it's number 7. What do you think number 1 was?
Okay. Good question. What was number 1?
Finances.
Money.
Yeah, you got to be financially secure. Number 2 was respect. You got to be respectful. Ambitious was in there. Honest was in there. Fit was in the top 10. Fit was above love. So, us fluffy fellas, we can't get no love.
You get rough out there for us.
Yeah, if you fluffy, you know. So I'm like, in a minute, love is going to be out of the top 10 things needed to get married.
Wow.
I think we should be alarmed. Because when you talk about love, people look at you a little condescending. They look at you like rolling their eyes. Here you go talking about love. Love is an obsolete emotion in 2022, is what people tell me. Now, we could get on our spiritual tip if you want. That's because people are getting away from God. You know how people say God is love. People are getting away from God. So I can understand how love is falling by the wayside. But I don't think we can allow that to continue to happen and us not go and fall into chaos as a society. That's why we got children killing old people. You know, we got children killing children. We have to get back to where love is okay. Brothers, it's all right to show love. I can look at my brother Joe and say, yo, man, I love you, dog. I love you too, bro. And we
Real
keep
talk.
it moving. There's no hesitation. There is no apprehension for people who are self-assured to show one another love. But if a brother would rather have a root canal, no anesthesia, than to fall in love, it changes who we are. It changes the individual that we are. So now, as ladies love differently from men. Now, we always start this argument right here. Who loves men or women? That's the question. Who loves harder, men or women?
The question.
Well, and I say men, not just because I am a man, but I say men love harder because we fight that emotion of love so much more than a woman because we're not supposed to have that.
Well, the women will argue with you on that one.
Well, but that's not true. That's why we constantly tell, oh, he's soft. Oh, he kind of mushy. Oh, because if you truly, that's why men fight love. So when it does eventually happen and it wins out, it's like it's made its way through a whole bunch of obstacles in order to even exist. Because initially, emotions are taboo for men. So when you say, I love, it had to get through your ego. It had to get through, that's just not how it's supposed to be. It had to get through, well, she gonna think you're soft if you're falling in love with her. It has to get through all of that. And then when it finally lands and wins, he's like, oh, well, you gonna see, she gonna break your heart, have you standing in the rain. That's my explanation on why men love harder, because it's harder for a man to accept that he's in love. We rather deny that. Whoo, Lord. We rather deny that than anything on this planet. Women are more acceptable to being vulnerable. Men are not.
That's true.
They're not. They're not more. Love makes you get out of character. It makes you do things that you wouldn't normally do. I don't feel quite the same. What is this warm, fuzzy feeling I got in my gut? But when a man does love a woman, she could want a piece of the moon, and he'll go buy. He'll be trying to buy a spaceship. He's trying to buy a spaceship, Brother Dupree.
Like you said, buying everything.
Whatever she wants. I always wanted an elephant. Let me go see how much the elephant costs, girl. You don't know where you're gonna keep it, what you gonna feed it. He's gonna go buy you an elephant. That's what you say you wanted, ain't it? So that's what you're gonna do. But in all seriousness, it becomes that, and I really love Black love. Oh my God, I love Black love. It's amazing to see. To see that couple that's been together and they can finish each other's sentences. When she fix food or he fix food, he fix her food, and then make you say, "Oh, did she say she was hungry?" But when you got that connection, what did it say, Brother Dupree? If you hungry, I'm hungry. So I think that we need to celebrate, get back to that place where we celebrate Black love. that Black love is a safe environment for all parties, both men and women. Men, we start to protect our women. Women, we start to nurture man's emotions. And if we do that, we will see the preservation of the African American family again. You know, black men are absent from their children's lives. That is a facade. That is fiction. It is not real. We love our children. We love our women. And we show it daily. So I'm here tonight to celebrate Black love and to say that if it's a time where you question yourself and you need that person to talk to, we're available. I see the question that says, where to give love and others is person how to choose to love. Choose love. That, well, see, the concept of choosing to love says there is a sense of self-assurance. There is a sense of confidence in your ability to handle all of the cornucopia and the floodgates of emotions that come with love. Because that's kind of why men don't like love, because it involves so many emotions of the gambit. You know, I mean, we can be in the middle of a hard-down argument with somebody we love, and before we can take a breath, we both laughing at something silly somebody said. And that drives men crazy because it's so many emotions: anger, love, uncertainty. You have vulnerability. It's so many different things. So if you say you choose to love, that is a sense of self-actualization, a sense of growth in an individual that people all aspire to be. You know, we aspire to be that individual that says, I'm assured in myself. I love me some me. Therefore, I feel comfortable loving you.
Well, you have to start with self.
I had a client tell me the other day, I'm struggling in my relationship because I don't love myself. And if I don't love me, how can I show someone else love?
Bingo.
Yeah. And she said it. She said, how can I show him love when I don't really think I love myself? So that ability to say, I feel comfortable loving, says that you have gone through the gambit, gone through the ups and downs, ran through the hoops, jumped over the hurdles, and got to a point where self is there. The reassurance makes you feel I'm okay with loving regardless of what happens. Because it doesn't always work out. And the last thing you want is to become what I call anti-love.
That's real tough.
If it doesn't work out, do you still believe in yourself enough to say, well, it'll work out next time? Because I'm going to continue to grow as an individual. I'm going to continue to progress on this path in this thing called the life cycle until I'm the best me I can be.
Wow.
Yeah. And when people say, well, it didn't work out, what happened? It didn't work out. You know what I'm saying? It didn't work out for them, and I had to accept that. Or it didn't work out for me, and they had to accept that. But we have to be willing to look at the good, the bad, and the ugly of self when we start talking about where do we go in this thing called love. Because
it all starts with self.
You are fragmented. How you going to love somebody wholly and you fragmented?
Correct.
Yeah, you know, the man go to the grocery store, you got a tracker on him. You know, you tracking his phone. You fragmented. You know, you're dealing with things that occurred in other relationships. That's something we're gonna need to do a whole show on.
Yeah, indeed.
What happens? What happens when you're a product of everything we call that cognitive behavioral therapy? You are a product of every interaction you've ever had in your life. So what's happened if you had a bunch of failed relationships? You've been cheated on, you've been this and that. Because I see guys, oh my God, that guy fell in love and that woman did him wrong. He has made a vow to God himself to never love again. Now, Brother Dupree, to show you how this hour flies by, I didn't even get into the discussion of, I told my students something last night. They was like, ooh, I said, it's much better to love the person that loves you instead of the person that you want. Now, let me tell you what I mean by that. If you are immature emotionally, you're immature and you don't know exactly where to go. You have all these ideas of what love is. And the person that truly loves you is right there. But you start saying, she gonna look like Beyonce, or he gonna look like Jay-Z, and this is that. And all the while, that person that absolutely loves your crazy self for you is right there in front of you. And what I love is when the two come together. When the person you should love is the person that loves you, whoo, babe. Brother Dupree is like the perfect storm. When that woman loves you, in spite of you, when you love her and how aggravating she can be, and then at the end of the day, there is a sense of peace in your relationship that you can't buy in the supermarket. There is that sense of peace that comes into the room when she walks into the room. It is that sense of peace knowing that he is going to go above and beyond for you. Like I said, you want a piece of the moon, he buying a spaceship. And it's a emotional dance that is beautiful. It's beautiful to see. You know who I had a privilege of watching do an interview the other day, and I can't think of his name, Angela Bassett's husband. He talked about their relationship the other day. And the way he was talking about it, it was like he was describing a dance of butterflies. He was like, we can communicate without opening our mouth. I can see her on one side of the room. Courtney something is his name. And he said, Angela's the one with the mouth. She'll go off on people and I'm more the other one, Courtney Vance, that's right. And he said, she's the one that'll go off on people. I'm more the one, I'll just cut people off. We'll never be in your company again. That's the way I do it. But he talked about their relationship and how she's fiery, he's laid back. She's, very elaborate, he's frugal. And he said, and it works for us. It's that dance that works. He said, I'm safe emotionally in her presence, and she's protected emotionally in mine. And I'm jotting some stuff down. I'm like, wow, this is what we all aspire to have and to find. And he said, now, if you think we're perfect, then something wrong with you. We're not perfect, but we're perfect for one another. I may not be the right man for another woman. She may not be the right woman for another man. But together, we have 30-some years of marriage. And I thought it was an excellent interview about Black love. So as we wrap up, I challenge everybody to allow yourself to search inside of yourself, find where you're vulnerable, and be okay with your vulnerability. When Brother Dupree and I decided to do this podcast, I said, I've never done a podcast before, but I trusted him. I said, it's going to be something that I'm okay with being a part of. And that's where I am. I'm okay with being a part of this podcast and how vulnerable I was, a year ago when we started this.
That part.
Yeah, So I think that we should continue our path along the life cycle in regards to growing and securing our emotional maturity. Because until we do that, love is gonna be a frightening thing. Because baby, when you get hurt emotionally, it's 10 times worse than any physical pain we can feel. Physical pain heals once the cells regenerate. Emotional cells don't regenerate. They leave scars. So I think next week we'll maybe pick up on this where we talk a little bit about that fear we talked about last week going into love and how people are afraid to be vulnerable, how we're afraid to open up and be that individual that could be hurt by someone that we care about.
Well, we definitely need to do a part two. Now, so let me give a disclaimer. Through this whole podcast, my microphone has had a terrible echo. So I'm gonna let you close us out. We're gonna fix the echo for the next podcast coming up. But thank you for everybody who has tuned in.
Yeah. Well, I wanna and I say the same thing every week. We made a commitment to put together a venue to disseminate information that people could use to better the quality of their life. I think that we have met our mission. We continue every week to meet our mission. I thank people who tune in. I definitely thank individuals and ask questions. But I want us to continue to have this dialogue to where we can exchange ideas that will better the quality of your mental health. Because like we say, Brother Dupree?
A healthy you
is a better you. So
Bingo.
I want everybody to tell someone to tune in, go back. You can look at this podcast and you can share it with individuals. You can sit down with your family and look at it. Let young men know it's okay for them to be vulnerable. Let them know it's okay to love. Let young girls know that a person who loves you is not going to hurt you. And then what we'll do is keep putting together a good venue to exchange ideas and dialogue, because your mental health matters. And you can always go to www.100blk.com to look at old podcasts, to look at this podcast again. And if you need counseling, please make that call. Call Positive Choices Counseling.org. PositiveChoicesCounseling.org. We have a number of different locations. We are doing telehealth. For those of you who may not be in Louisiana, you can give us a call, and we promise we will link you with quality mental health services. Brother Dupree, as usual, man, I always appreciate you and I coming on here every week doing this. And I always say, everybody, please, it was good seeing you. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. We out. Peace.